Hi everybody, I'm Tony E at Show IP Interface Brief, and this is my wrap-up video for day number, for my extended day number 41. This was day 41, part 2, where I continued to work the CCIE Route and Switch V5 Troubleshooting Lab number 2 from the INE workbook. This was a really awesome lab. There were so many times where I absolutely didn't know what to do. And that's really awesome. Even though it was, I'm sure it was painful to watch. It was definitely painful to lab through. But that's exactly what I want. I want something that I absolutely don't know how to do. Because it pushes me. First of all, it shows me it exposes my weakness and shows me all of the things that I don't know, and it pushes me to want to learn even more because these are solvable problems. They're only not solvable because I don't have a clear plan. Well, here's how I break down topics, almost all topics. I always say whether you're studying for CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, or anything, Juniper, Palo Alto, anything, it all comes down to this: theory, configuration, validation. Okay? And there were times throughout this troubleshooting lab where either I didn't understand the theory, I didn't know the configuration, or I didn't know how to validate, or a combination of the three. And that just drives home the three topics that we need to continue to build on, which is theory, configuration, validation, on a number of topics. OSPF burned me up a number of times, and I'm putting that on the roadmap for in the near future. OSPF is on the roadmap. Also, multicast is on the roadmap. And I'll get into that as I review my scores here. And this was a really good lab, a really fun lab. I spread it out over 2 days because it was the holiday weekend. I had a barbecue to go to yesterday. I had a birthday party to go to today. And that's just how it goes sometimes, you know? So no big deal. We spread the love over 2 days. And so now we're done. We finished today at about nearly 1 o'clock, nearly 1 p.m. East Coast on Eastern time on the U.S. East Coast. So let me go ahead and start reviewing some of these topics and what my scores were, and just a couple of gotchas that I noticed with myself, or if I learned something in the meantime. Before I begin, I want to show my timekeeping chart. So this is every day that I lab, I fill in a row. And I don't fill it in every day. Sometimes I need to go back and sort of retroactively fill it in. But I started essentially, I call it July, in the beginning of July. It was actually July 2nd. Day 1, it was a Monday. I put the date and how many hours I put in. And then I went ahead and add up all of these hours. So far, this is day 41 down here. These 2 days here. This was yesterday and today. So far, cumulative, I have 140 hours clocked. 140 hours, I feel like is a big deal. Now, were all of those hours, absolutely 100% grinding it out? No, not all the time. Sometimes it was reading. Sometimes it was reviewing some videos. Sometimes there was some hours dedicated to just building labs, even if I wasn't doing configurations, actually building the lab went into it. I'm just trying to get a pretty good gauge, and it's really close to the amount of time that I actually spend labbing. So at the end of the 100 days, it's not about just being 100 days. We can actually calculate how many hours have been spent. And I feel like that's an important metric. There's also a number of days. You see my blackout days here. Typically, I allow myself one cheat day. And as you can see here, I had a long blackout section, which was I took a week off, essentially. I had a lot going on here at the house, and I took a week off. That's just the way it was. All right, so this is wrapping up day 41, so let's get to it. Okay, so ticket number one. This lab had the entire lab and all of the tickets had an overall difficulty rating of 7, which the last troubleshooting lab had an overall difficulty rating of 8. I actually feel like this one was much harder. But this one says 7. So I'll spare you the details on that. I'll tell you, ticket number 1, I earned 0 points. I earned a whopping 0 points. And that was my very first ticket. And that was very embarrassing and I felt ashamed that I couldn't even solve the very first ticket right out of the gate. And I spent a lot of time on it. So actually what I did was, even though it was live on stream, while it was live on stream, I looked this one up. I actually researched it and looked up some configuration examples. And I learned a new technique, a new configuration technique that I didn't know before, which was sort of how to apply QoS map groups to DMVPN, essentially multi-point tunnel interfaces. I thought that was pretty cool. I had never seen that before. I've never done it before. But I know now. So actually, through the configuration examples, even while I was on stream, I was able to go ahead and configure this lab and get it correct. But I still awarded myself 0 points because I cheated, because I used a reference. But this is a learning experience, right? I don't just want to give myself I didn't want to just completely skip it, give myself a 0 and move on and then never see it again. I wanted to make sure I'm learning from this experience. And I did learn something from this experience. So even though I cheated, I give myself 0 points. I did learn something new. So that is a win, although I didn't earn any points. So that was very cool. I hadn't seen that configuration before. But I think it's fairly easy, and I'll probably need to do it on my own once or twice outside of troubleshooting. I tell you what, all of the components that make up these troubleshooting labs are really good, and a lot of good topics are covered, but I'm not spending a lot of time on them because this is sort of timed. Although it's not actually timed, there is a limited time that I want to spend on these, and which is the weekend. And I typically don't spend the weekend. I typically spend 1 day on it. Whether it's 6 hours or 10 hours, I'll spend all day on one of these labs. And so it is kind of a rush. And believe me, I realize that in the CCIE lab exam, I don't know how many tickets they give you. It might be 10 tickets. And I think you get 2.5 hours or 2 hours to solve 10 tickets. And I don't know. I don't know if they're harder. They probably are harder. It's the expert level exam, but my point is I'm spending 10 hours on 10 tickets when really it's 2 hours on 10 tickets. But if I'm learning along the way, then I am improving. So, let's hope that that's the case. All right, ticket number 2. Ticket number 2 said router 7 should install routes to a /26 prefix via the Internet VPN if it is available, and use the MPLS VPN as a backup. Fix the network to match the output below. So I did match the output below. I felt very good about this one. I worked it and figured it out, and I gave myself the 2 points. I put a little check mark next to it when I had it filled out. And then I went ahead and read the answer key and some notes that I had written down after looking at the answer key. I marked this as complete with full credit. According to the answer key, I identified the problem correctly. So in the answer key, it gives you a little snippet about what was the actually underlying problem, or what was the theory that should have been applied here. So I did fix the prefix lists that was in the answer key, although I fixed them a little differently, but I would still get it to working. I also fixed the access list. I got that correct. And I did not change the neighbor weight in BGP. And in the answer key, it said you might not have to. I didn't, and it seemed to work fine. So I'm still giving myself full credit because I matched the output below, and I feel like that was the accurate part there. So 2 points for that. And I'll go ahead and show you what my score is at the end. Ticket number 3 was router 9 is a router strategically placed by the global network in a colo location connected to both service provider A and service provider B. The role of R9 is to provide redundancy to a single connected site in a global network. So this one was, if R7's link goes down, it wants you to take this very specific long path around the topology to the destination. And it gives you a trace route and another trace route, the before and after trace routes. And I worked this one. And I got this one correct. This was a 3-pointer. I marked it as corrected. Right after I did it, I said, you know what? I got this right because I matched the output. And I felt like I understood the theory of this one pretty well. So this one, I identified the problem correctly according to the answer key. I fixed it a little differently, though. The answer key, the problem was the origin BGP autonomous system was the same as one of the transit autonomous systems. So the transit wouldn't actually accept the prefixes from the origin because of the AS path, because it has the same AS number in the AS path. So the correct answer was to do an allow AS in, but because it was actually going over MPLS, I went ahead and did the allow AS override, and that was fine. It was fine, no problem. Solves the problem. And I remember when I was on stream, I remember saying that I think there's another way to do this, and that's allow AS in or AS override, and I don't know which one is right. So it said allow AS in was right. I did AS override. We got the same exact result, the expected result. I'm going with it. There was also a static null route that needed an administrative distance of 255 added to it, and I went ahead and did that as well. So I got that. I gave myself full credit for that. Ticket number 4. Number 4, I did on Sunday. Today is Monday. I did it on Sunday, and I gave myself 0 points at the time. I couldn't figure it out, and I moved on. I went ahead and did the next ticket. Later that night, which was last night, which was Sunday night, I was thinking about it, and I was laying in bed with my phone, and I started remembering some of the things from ticket number 4 and was looking them up. So I started looking up the prefix suppression on OSPF and some theory around NSSA areas, not so stubby areas. And so I came in fresh today, and the first thing I did today was go back and do this ticket. And so I think I sorted it out, and I went back and I got this ticket. I gave myself the 2 points. I got the pings to work just like they wanted. However, tonight, once I reviewed the answer key, I must have been way wrong. In fact, I didn't understand the answer key. There was a command in there which was area 34 NSSA translate type 7 suppress forwarding address. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what that does. Yeah, I don't even know what that does. Here's my notes. I saved these notes with the with my project, so I know. So if I do this lab again, I can compare notes. So I didn't do that. Also, I saw on router 5. No, maybe it was router 5. Router 5 or router 4. It was router 5. Had 2 OSPF process IDs. And I left that alone because I thought if I tampered with that, that would be like tampering with the routing boundary. And it turns out we were, according to the answer key, we were supposed to change the process ID. I didn't know that. And maybe that goes back to my lack of understanding of theory on the forwarding address and stuff. I don't know what changing the process ID on that loopback interface, or rather putting that loopback interface in the correct process ID would have done for us. I don't know. Don't know. I gave myself a 0. I earned a 0 for that. Moving on. Ticket number 5 was another trace route. R19 must take the following path between 2 routers. So instead of taking it directly connected, it wants to go do the roundabout. That was 2 points. I marked it as correct when I solved it. And And while I looked at the answer key, both elements that needed to be corrected, I did correctly. So I gave myself the 2 points for that. No big deal. Ticket number 6. Ticket number 6 says R6 is unable to reach R12 via the Internet VPN DMVPN network. Fix the network to match the output below. The output below was a trace route. And it was showing that it's only taking one hop. And this was ticket number 6. Restrictions: do not remove any interface level commands, and a trace route from R1 or R2 to R12's physical address should yield the following output. And I was able to get that as well. So ticket number 6, I gave myself full credit for that when I solved it. Went back and looked at the answer key today, and I found the elements that I got incorrect. So I went ahead and compared my results to the answer key, got everything right. So that was 3 points. So good on me. The next is ticket number 7. Ticket number 7 was R5 is unable to ping R1's loopback2 interface, which is an IPv6 address. Fix the network to match the output below. So there was a number of things. That needed to happen for this one. I gave myself full credit because I did solve it live. It was 2 points. So router 1 had the wrong network statement for IPv6. Router 16 didn't have the route reflector clients added for the necessary clients, which is R1 and R5. And there was another thing in the answer key, which was setting the OSPF v3 stub flag. And I didn't remember doing that for this ticket, ticket number 7. I think I did that for a later ticket. I'm not sure. I might have done it for this ticket. Either way, I did end up setting the correct stub flag for OSPF v3. I just don't think I did it for this ticket. But when I went back and compared my running config to the answer key, I had the correct settings. I just didn't think I did it for this ticket. But either way, I got full credit because I matched the output, right? And I don't know another way to grade this. Do I go with exactly the configuration commands in the answer key, or do I go with the matched output? Which one is correct? So when I was taking some of the Cisco 360 labs, some of the, I don't know if all of them are like this, but some of the graded ones, they actually grade you, and they have a pretty deep grading system that I really enjoy, and I'm looking forward to completing some Cisco 360 labs towards the end of this 100 days of labbing journey. They actually will grade you, and it's not always based on, it's not comparing running configs. It's not taking your running config and comparing it against a template and seeing what's right. Instead, it's matching the show output. You know, for things like prefix lists, names can be different, access list names can be different, numbers can be different, route maps can be different. You know, it's really hard to get those configurable elements. But if you're actually doing comparing show output for show interfaces or show protocols or show this or show that, and you're actually including something or looking for something specific within that, then all of the route map names and prefix list names and access list numbers and all that stuff, none of that actually matters. And I feel like those labs did a good job of comparing those results. So actually what it does when you get a graded lab, it'll show your configuration and their configuration or the show output. And when you scroll up and down, they scroll in sync. So it's not like two notepads where you can scroll one and the other doesn't stay, and then you got to go and scroll the other. Actually, when you drag the scroll bar, they will scroll in sync, and they do like a diff. So that'll be red on this side with what you missed and green on this side with what you added. And I think that's a pretty deep way to really dive into the configs after a large lab and do a real comparison and have it highlighted for you and the output very clear. And I think that's really cool. It's actually kind of hard, boring, and difficult to come back after doing a troubleshooting lab like today and grade yourself. Actually, all I wanted to do is go to bed. Right now, I'm dying to go to bed. It's nearly 11 p.m. All I want to do is go to sleep. But I have to grade myself. I can't let this be another task for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have to lab. So ticket number 7, I got that one right? We just reviewed that one. Yes, ticket number 7, 2 points, got that one. Ticket number 8. This one had me stuck for a long time today. I reviewed the answer key, and I'm going to be 100% honest. The answer key is wrong. It's wrong because it's calling out on routers that aren't in the topology, and it's having you remove a config and put it back on as the solution. So let's see if I can bring that up. All right, let's see if I can bring this up. See if I can just highlight this one. This was ticket number 8. And I'll click over like this. So let me see if it's going to click over on the video. Yes. Okay, so it's saying router 19. It's actually not on router 19. It's actually router 14. And then it's having you do no area 51 NSSA and area 51 NSSA. That is not a solution. If you ask me, in my opinion, I don't know. Am I a stickler? I don't think so. But I think I know something that's not going to work when I see it. I don't know. Obviously, I did this troubleshooting lab, and there's a ton of new things that I didn't know. But this, I don't think is going to have any effect. Also, it's on the wrong router. So I'm going to say that the answer key is wrong. This is not the correct answer. That doesn't mean I know what is the correct answer. It just means I recognize that that is not the correct answer. Okay, so ticket number 8, I got a 0 on. I don't know how to solve it. I don't know what the correct answer was. And that's all I got. That's all I know. Ticket number 9, I sort of gave myself half credit for this. I gave myself half credit because I was also getting stuck on this one. This was a 3-pointer, and I was there were 3 elements I think that were wrong on this one, which was some crypto parameters, IPsec parameters, a prefix list that was misconfigured, and I had found both of those elements and fixed them. And I probably spent nearly an hour, and I couldn't figure out, this was a redistribution problem, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting redistribution. And some of our viewers on YouTube and in Discord was throwing out some suggestions, namely Mentors. Hello, Mentors. Thank you for pointing me in the right direction. He definitely gave me a little hint, which I don't like getting hints because I really want to do this myself. You know, this is for me to test myself, not for me to test everybody out there. But I was very happy to receive the hint because I was beating my head against the wall. And as soon as he said it, it just clicked in my mind. I just knew that's exactly what I'm missing. And I can't believe that I forgot. So in order to redistribute into EIGRP, you must set a seed metric. Everything else in the topology was right. Everything was ready to go. I knew it was ready to go. I drilled those prefix lists. I went over the IPsec parameters. I did it. It should have worked. And it's not going to work until you set a seed metric. As soon as I set those seed metric values, redistribution, no problem. So I gave myself half credit because I did half the work. But thank you, Mentors, for pointing me in the right direction for that one. I definitely needed a little pick-me-up after ticket number 8 burning me up real bad. So I gave myself half credit. So that was a 3-pointer. I gave myself 1.5. I don't actually know how they actually score the troubleshooting tickets in the actual CCIE lab exam. I have not a clue. Not a clue. I don't know how to do it. But for this one, I gave myself half credit. I don't know if they do that. I don't know if that's a thing. But that's what I did for myself. The last ticket was ticket number 10. And this one was router 1 was not able to receive multicast traffic. And I admittedly don't even know multicast routing fundamentals. All right. Because multicast is only part of a CCIE curriculum, I think I might be able to slide by understanding the foundations. But if the CCIE exam encompassed multicast entirely, I wouldn't pass CCNA level. You know, if it was just, you know, CCNA multicast, I couldn't pass it. I think my strengths and other things might earn me enough points that I can, you know, sweep multicast under the rug. That's not what I want to do. It's not my plan. But if I fail something, I'd rather fail multicast and succeed in everything else, because it is definitely a weak spot for me at the moment. So I'm putting that on my study plan over the next 58 days, 59 days we'll have. But anyhow, I compared the answer key, and there was one command. There was actually two problems. There were two faults, I believe. I have the answer key up right here. There were two faults. I had fixed one of them. I recognized that I fixed it. And there was one command. And I'm telling you, I did it just now. I did it. I quit this lab at 1 p.m. today. It's 11 p.m. now. Right before I started stream, I solved ticket number 10 by putting that one command in and testing the traffic. Multicast works. I was off by one command. And it wasn't a complicated one. It was a foundational. It was a multicast foundation. I forgot to turn on PIM on an interface that needed it, and I'm ashamed that I missed it. But this was a learning experience, and I think if faced by this problem again, even in a different topology, I'll be checking for that. So I think that doing this troubleshooting lab had value, had real value. I definitely learned something from it, so I'm very happy about it. And that wraps up the 10 tickets. That is a wrap. So, let me show my scores, which I have here. All right, so if this doesn't make sense, this is ticket number 1, ticket number 2, ticket number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Added up, I got a total of 13.5 out of 23. Still need 9.5 more points to make it a 23 out of 23. So overall, how did I do? I failed. I failed miserably. Terrible. I got 4 zeros. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 absolute zeros. And one of them was a half credit. And just think, if I would have just remembered that you needed a seed metric, that could be full credit. You know, I'd feel much better about that. But it is what it is. Every point on here I earned. And every point that's not on there, I have yet to earn. So definitely something to learn. There's more to learn. There's more to work on. So I'm very happy about it. Man, these labs are really awesome. I mean, INE has had great materials for me. So there's still many more labs to dig through in the INE workbook, and then we'll probably start some other labs. We'll do some other stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it. So upcoming this week, I'm going to continue on QoS. I'm going to be working more QoS because I was diving into that last week, and I want to work QoS very well. Someone had told me, I think it was at Cisco Live when I was at one of the CCIE Techtorials, that QoS is not something that they test for the same way that they verify other things. And one of the reasons is, you know, they're not hooking up a traffic generator to your lab. It's sending traffic all over it to see if your QoS is working, right? As far as QoS goes, they're doing some configuration validation and show output validation. And I don't think there's much more that they can do. They know they're not going to hop on different routers, and I don't think run a bunch of ping traffic and try to simulate traffic. So with that said, I still need to know all the configurations and show output, validation. I need to be able to produce that. And QoS is not something I spent a lot of time on, but I'm just starting to learn it. I took some really good notes last week. So next week will be QoS, and then we're going to dive into probably more OSPF. Actually, what I want to do is I kind of want to go back to do a configuration lab, which encompasses multi-protocol BGP and DMVPN and IPsec and just all of those things that we absolutely know are going to be in the lab. We know we're going to have multi-protocol BGP. We know we're going to have DMVPN. We know we're going to have IPsec. We know we're going to have all the routing protocols. So we need to work them. We need to continue to work them. So I'm going to try and do that. So again, I always close out my week-long labbing with this. If anyone has labs, topologies, suggestions, send them my way. I always want to know what's out there, how we can study better, how we can help each other. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let's all help each other. So there is another troubleshooting lab. It is troubleshooting lab number 3. And that's that. So it looks like we'll probably do that maybe next weekend. I think next weekend we'll start doing our labs on Sundays exclusively, leaving Saturday to be a cheat day for myself. And that's what we'll do. So thanks everyone. Thanks everyone who played along this weekend. It was a great holiday weekend to spend labbing. A lot of good lessons learned here, and I'm looking forward to a lot more. Thanks.